So the claim that I'm going to be refuting today is that the system of campaign finance in the United States needs to be reformed. So I'm here today with 3 claims. That my opponent's first claim, that there is an excess of contributions from corporations and individuals, is unjustified and unsupported. That the second claim offers a presupposition about corruption prior to the year 1971. And that the third claim does not clarify what impact a public financing system would have, and does not make clear if the states who have the public financing system are effective in eliminating corruption. Okay, so to start off, the claim that there is an excess of contributions from corporations and individuals is unjustified and the support is inadequate. Firstly, my opponent noted some of the bigger donors to Barack Obama's most recent campaign, including James H. Simon, who allegedly contributed $5 million to the campaign. The argument continued to explain how Simon is not an accurate representation of the general public's needs and opinions. However, Simon's contribution was to Priority USA Action, an organization, according to the Center for Public Integrity, whose mission is to the re-election of President Obama and setting the record straight when there are misleading attacks against him and other progressive leaders. Simon's donation was in an attempt to re-elect Obama, not to force certain issues onto Obama that he would have otherwise not supported. Also, in this claim, there were hasty generalizations that offer no explanation to why a corporation is less entitled to expressing opinions than when they are alone than putting their money into a campaign. The definition of a corporation in itself, according to Webster's Dictionary, is a group of citizens authorized to act as a single entity, and no explanation to why a group of like-minded individuals should not work together towards their common goal is given. My opponent's second claim, that corporate finance laws should be returned to how they were prior to the Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission and McCutcheon versus FE, offers a presupposition about corruption prior to the year 1971. This assumption suggested that there was no corruption within the government before the year 1971. However, this is simply not true. For example, according to FEC.gov, in the year 1960, John C. Dorfer, chairman of the Federal Communications Commission during President Eisenhower's presidency, was accused of conflicts of interest and was forced to resign from his position. This is just one of dozens, if not hundreds, of examples of government corruption that took place before the year 1971. These examples prove that there was corruption before the year 1971, and that the assumption that there wasn't is false. Lastly, my opponents claim that there needs to be increased public financing available for elections in the form of clean election finance programs does not clarify what impact a public financing system would have, and also does not make it clear if the states who have the public financing system are effective in eliminating corruption. My opponent's argument stated that only 13 of 50 states currently have public financing systems. Research from the Tampa Tribune proves that these public financing systems may not be as effective as suggested. Florida is one of those 13 of 50 states that does have public financing. And according to a study done by the Integrity Florida Watchdog Group, Florida is #1 in government corruption. Florida had 781 federal government corruption convictions between the years 2000 and 2010 alone, the most of any state in this country. Some may argue that this may be due to Florida being the 4th most populated state at the time, but the 2 largest, California and Texas, have led in only 3 of the last 12 years compared to Florida's 5, and neither state had public financing. The arguments made in my opponent's speech are not sound and need further support and rewording to be completely valid. The topic of reformation of campaign finance in the United States is one that is highly controversial and that needs the strongest possible support to be heard. Thank you.
Clean election state.
All right, organizationally, everything is set up fine. I thought that it was kind of interesting that you were previewing your responses to the advocate's secondary claims as you were previewing the claims simultaneously. That was pretty effective. And then you signpost the points as you get to them. That's okay. The first point, you went right after the example that the advocate presented, suggesting a different interpretation of what the example meant. And I thought that that was a very straightforward way of addressing it. I also like the challenge to the notion that corporations can't be representative of the population, and you've got a nice definition there that I think undermines a lot of the argument that is presented against those the court rulings that gave Citizens United, for instance, the ability to engage in the activities that they are now said, they shouldn't be engaging in those sorts of things. On the second point, though, it seemed to me that you are operating on the presumption that the advocate was suggesting that there was no corruption prior to 71. I don't remember the argument completely, but I don't think I definitely don't remember that that was an inference being made by the advocate. There may have been some other argument about when campaign finance reform was put into place, or whether or not the finance reform that was put into place in 71 was adequate to address those issues, and maybe those court rulings overturned them in some way. I'm not sure that you've read the advocate's claim correctly on this point. However, your response, giving an example and then talking about how corruption obviously did exist in government, if that is the premise of that argument, I think you've got a good response there, although a singular response is a little bit problematic. I thought the third argument was maybe the most effective of all, because the advocate's arguing for public financing as a way of reducing corruption. 13 states have financing, and one of those states, the largest of the states that have the financing, was number one in government corruption, according to your evidence. So I thought that was very direct and to the point on that particular issue. All right, thank you.